My rich uncle left his entire fortune to me anonymously. The condition? I could never tell my family. 20 years later, I had to choose. Picture this. You get a call from a lawyer. A lawyer you've never heard of. And he says, I'm calling about your uncle's estate. Your uncle, who you barely knew. Who you saw maybe once a year at family dinners. Who nobody in your family talked about much. The lawyer tells you, your uncle has left you his entire fortune. Everything. Not to your parents. Not to your siblings. To you. Specifically to you. And it's a substantial amount. Enough to change your life completely. Enough to buy a house. Enough to retire early. Enough to never worry about money again. But there's a catch. You can never tell your family. Not your parents. Not your siblings. Not your spouse if you have one. Nobody. It's a condition of the will. Break it and the money goes to charity. All of it. So you're faced with a choice. Take the money and live with this secret. Or refuse it and maintain your family transparency. And this man chose to take it. He lived with that secret for 20 years. 20 years of lying to the people he loved. 20 years of hiding where money came from. 20 years of carrying the weight of something nobody else knew about. Until one day, he couldn't anymore. Until he had to choose between the secret and his family. And that choice, it changed everything. Okay, before I read this full story, let me give you context. This is from our relationship advice and our Ask Reddit. And when it was posted, it sparked massive debate because the ethical questions are genuinely complicated. This story covers an unexpected inheritance from an estranged uncle, a secrecy clause that seems reasonable at first, 20 years of keeping the secret from family, the psychological weight of lying to loved ones, a crisis moment that forces a decision, the revelation to family, the fallout and consequences, what it means to choose money over transparency, whether the uncle's original condition was fair, who was right in this situation. The thing that makes this different from a typical inheritance story is that it's not about the money. It's about the moral weight of keeping it secret. It's about what you're willing to sacrifice to maintain. Even a lie born from good intentions. By the end, you're going to understand why this man is still processing this decision. Even years later, let's get into it. I'm 32 years old. I'm married to my husband, Marcus, for 6 years. We've been trying for a baby for 3 years. When I finally got pregnant, it was the happiest moment of my life. My sister, Jennifer, is 29. We grew up together, but our relationship has never been simple. Jennifer has always been difficult. She's jealous in a way. That's hard to describe. Not just casual jealousy, like pathological jealousy. Everything I did, she had to one-up. Every achievement, she questioned. Every relationship she tried to sabotage. When I started dating Marcus, she actually told me he was out of my league and that he'd leave me eventually. We got married anyway. When we bought our house, she said we'd gotten lucky and would probably lose it. When I got promoted at work, she claimed I'd slept my way to the top. I learned to not tell her things. But we're sisters and we lived in the same city, so she was still around. When I told her I was pregnant, her response was weird. She said, "Congratulations. I hope the baby looks like you and not, well, I hope it's healthy." That comment stuck with me. I hope it looks like you and not, like what? Like what? I asked Marcus if there was something about his family that would make that comment make sense. He was confused. He said, "My family has normal genetics." Why would she say that? I let it go, but I didn't forget it. This is important context. The comment wasn't nothing. It was a seed, a planted doubt, a hint at something Jennifer was planning. During my pregnancy, Jennifer became increasingly present. She'd show up at my appointments. She'd ask detailed questions about the baby. She'd make weird comments like, "Well, if the baby is yours, or assuming the baby is," little things that would make me go, "What are you talking about?" I started to realize Jennifer was planning to question the paternity of my baby. I don't know how I knew, but I knew there was a pattern. There was intentionality. So I did something maybe I shouldn't have done. I got a DNA test done during my pregnancy. It's a prenatal test that can determine paternity from the baby's DNA markers. I didn't tell Marcus. I didn't tell anyone. I got the test done at 8 months pregnant, and it came back. Marcus is 100% the biological father, but I kept that test result, and I got the results printed. I got them laminated. I prepared for the moment I knew Jennifer was going to create. Does that seem like overkill? Or does it seem like the perfect preparation for someone who knew what was coming? My baby shower was 6 weeks before my due date. My mother organized it. We had it at a nice restaurant's private room. 50 people. my mom's friends, my friends, Marcus's family, my extended family. Jennifer was there. Of course she was. She was wearing a weird smile all day, like she was in on some kind of joke that no one else understood. We did all the normal baby shower stuff. Games, food, gifts. I was genuinely enjoying myself. People were excited for me. My best friend gave a speech about how excited she was to meet the baby. My mother got emotional talking about becoming a grandmother. It was a good day. It was a beautiful day. And then, about 2 hours in, Jennifer stood up. She clinked her glass, like someone making a toast. Everyone turned to look at her, and she said, "I have something I need to share." My stomach dropped. I knew exactly what was coming. She said, "I'm happy for my sister. I really am, but I'm also concerned. And I think as family we need to address something important." My mother said, "What is it, honey?" Jennifer took a breath and said, "I'm concerned that my name might not know who the father of this baby actually is. And I think before she brings a baby into the world, she should know the truth." The room went silent. My mother looked shocked. Marcus looked like he'd been slapped. My dad looked confused. Everyone was staring at me. Jennifer continued, "I have reason to believe that Marcus might not be the biological father. And I think I deserve to know before she names him or makes plans based on a false assumption." My mother said, "Jennifer, what are you talking about?" Jennifer said, "I've been concerned for months. I've seen things. I've heard things. And I just think my sister should know the truth before everyone in this room celebrates a lie." Marcus stood up and said, "That's insane. What the hell are you talking about?" Jennifer said, "I'm just saying, there might be questions about paternity. And if there are, that baby shouldn't be born into confusion." Do you see what she did? She made an accusation without evidence. She cast a doubt without proof. She publicly humiliated me while framing it as concern and protection. It was calculated. It was cruel. And it was meant to destroy me in front of everyone I love. And she gambled that I wouldn't have proof. Everyone was looking at me. My mother was looking horrified. Marcus was furious. The room was tense and awkward. And I stood up. I said, "Jennifer, thank you for your concern. I actually have something to show everyone." I pulled out a folder from my purse. I had printed out the DNA test results. All of them. Multiple copies. I had them ready because I knew. I said, "I had a prenatal DNA test done at 8 months. These are the results. They show, with 99.9% certainty, that Marcus is the biological father of this baby." I handed copies to my mother, to Marcus, to my father. I handed copies to people around the table. The room went from tense to shocked to quiet. Marcus looked at me like, "You did this?" And I nodded. My mother was reading the test results, tears in her eyes, and Jennifer's face. Her face went white. At this moment, what do you think Jennifer expected would happen? Did she think no one would push back? Did she think she'd get away with this? But I wasn't done, because those DNA test results, they weren't just for paternity confirmation. They also showed something else. Those tests, in determining paternity, also create a DNA profile for the baby. And I'd submitted that profile to an ancestry database. A genetic genealogy database, the kind people use to find relatives. And the baby's DNA matched someone in that database. Someone unexpected. Someone whose DNA had been submitted years ago. And when I looked at who that someone was, I realized it was Jennifer's daughter. Jennifer has a 7-year-old daughter named Emma. Emma's father is, well, officially, he's Jennifer's ex-boyfriend. But the thing is, Jennifer has always been vague about Emma's conception. She'd tell different people different stories. To some people, she'd say Emma's dad was a guy named David who wasn't ready for a kid. To others, she'd say it was a one-night stand. The story changed depending on who was asking. But here's the thing. Marcus has a brother, Jeremy. He's 4 years younger than Marcus. And Jeremy had a relationship with Jennifer. It was about 8 years ago, right after Marcus and I started dating. I never knew the full extent of that relationship, but I knew it happened. Jennifer had even mentioned it casually, but then she dropped it. The DNA test results showed that Emma's father was almost certainly Jeremy, not whoever she'd been claiming was the father, which meant that for 7 years, Jennifer had been lying about her daughter's paternity, and she'd been blaming the guy she'd publicly claimed was the father for abandoning them. And she had the audacity to publicly question my baby's paternity when her own daughter's paternity was a lie. So I said, in front of everyone, actually I have something else. Jennifer, I need to talk to you about Emma. Jennifer went pale. Like, actually pale. I said, when I did the prenatal DNA test, I also checked it against some genealogy databases, and I found something interesting. I pulled out another piece of paper. Emma's DNA is in the database, and according to the markers, Emma's biological father is almost certainly Jeremy, not David. The room gasped. Jennifer started crying and said, "You don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Actually, I do." I reached out to David. He doesn't know who Emma's real father is either. He's been paying child support for a daughter that isn't biologically his. Because you lied about it. You told everyone he abandoned you. But he actually didn't know for certain that Emma was even his. My mother said, "Jennifer, is this true?" I said, "When I did the prenatal DNA test, I also checked it against some genealogy databases, and I found something interesting." I pulled out another piece of paper. Emma's DNA is in the database, and according to the markers, Emma's biological father is almost certainly Jeremy, not David. The room gasped. Jennifer started crying and said, "You don't know what you're talking about." I said, "Actually, I do." I reached out to David. He doesn't know who Emma's real father is either. He's been paying child support for a daughter that isn't biologically his. Because you lied about it. You told everyone he abandoned you. But he actually didn't know for certain that Emma was even his. My mother said, "Jennifer, is this true?" After Jennifer left, the baby shower kind of fell apart. People were shocked. My mom was upset with Jennifer for the accusation and for the lie about Emma's paternity. My dad was confused but clearly angry. Marcus was quiet, processing. David, Emma's supposed father, apparently found out about this all at the baby shower because someone told him. He called Jennifer that evening, and they had a massive fight. He said he'd been paying $600 a month in child support for 7 years on a lie. That's over $50,000. Jeremy called Marcus that night. He said, "Is it true? Is Emma actually my daughter?" Marcus was like, "I don't know. You should talk to Jennifer." Jeremy was shocked. Apparently, Jeremy never knew. He and Jennifer had dated for like 8 months, 8 years ago. And he'd moved on. He didn't know there was a daughter. Jeremy actually went and got his own DNA test done. And yes, Emma is his biological daughter. But here's the thing. Jeremy was already engaged to someone else. He had a whole life. And now he had to deal with the fact that he has a 7-year-old daughter he didn't know about. My mother basically told Jennifer to get therapy. She said the lying about Emma's paternity, combined with the accusation about my baby, showed a pattern of behavior that was toxic. What Jennifer didn't understand is that by trying to destroy me, she exposed her own lie. She weaponized the very thing she was guilty of questioning, paternity, and in doing so, forced herself to be honest about her own daughters. It was poetic in a dark way. My extended family was divided for a while. Some people sympathized with Jennifer because she was probably scared or she had her own trauma, but others were like, she lied about her daughter's paternity for 7 years and tried to publicly humiliate her sister. That's not excusable. I found out later that Jennifer had apparently told some people that she questioned my baby's paternity because she was concerned about patterns in my life. When I asked what patterns, through my mother, it turned out Jennifer couldn't point to anything specific. It was just jealousy. It was just cruelty framed as concern. Marcus and I had to have a conversation. I told him about the prenatal test and that I'd done it because I knew Jennifer was going to question the paternity. He was initially upset that I hadn't told him, but then he understood. He said, "You were protecting yourself. I get it." But it also made him realize something about his family. His brother Jeremy apparently had no idea he had a daughter. That's a significant discovery. Jeremy and Jennifer are currently in a custody negotiation. Jennifer apparently never had an official custody arrangement with David because he wasn't actually the father. And Jeremy is now trying to establish one. It's gotten legal. David has apparently joined a child support fraud lawsuit against Jennifer. He's trying to recover the money. He's paid for a daughter that wasn't biologically his. My mother has set boundaries with Jennifer. She said, "I love you, but I need you to go to therapy and get help for whatever is driving this behavior." Jennifer hasn't gone to therapy. They don't talk much anymore. Do you think Jennifer deserved what happened? Or do you think exposing her secret was overboard, even if it was in self-defense? People asked me if I felt good about what happened. And the honest answer is, I don't know. On one hand, Jennifer tried to publicly humiliate me and cast in doubt on my baby's paternity in front of everyone I love. That was cruel. That was calculated. And she deserved consequences. On the other hand, I knew she had a lie about Emma. I knew it. And instead of talking to her about it privately, I exposed it in front of 50 people to protect myself. Was that self-defense? Or was that revenge? I think it was both. I did what I had to do to protect my reputation and my family in that moment. But I also did it in a way that was designed to humiliate Jennifer the way she tried to humiliate me. The thing I struggle with is Emma. Emma is 7 years old. She didn't do anything wrong. And now her whole family situation is in chaos because of what happened at that baby shower. Her father figure, David, is no longer involved. Her actual biological father, Jeremy, is a stranger who's trying to figure out custody, and her mother, Jennifer, is dealing with legal consequences. Jennifer made that situation. She lied for 7 years. But Emma is the one who's suffering the most from the fallout. And I feel complicated about that. I don't regret protecting myself. But I also understand that the consequences of that moment are still rippling through everyone's lives. Especially Emma's. My baby was born 3 weeks after the shower. She's beautiful. She has Marcus's eyes. And she's absolutely biologically his, as the test confirmed. But the innocence of that moment, the joy of my baby shower, it's tainted now. People don't remember it for the happiness. They remember it for the drama. The accusation, the revelation, the exposed lie. Jennifer basically disappeared for a while. She stopped coming to family events. She stopped posting on social media. I heard through my mom that she was really struggling, probably realizing how badly she'd miscalculated. But she also made her choices. She chose to question my baby's paternity without evidence. She chose to do it publicly. She chose to frame it as concern when it was actually cruelty. And those choices had consequences. For her, for Jeremy, for Emma, for David, for all of us. If you could go back, would you have handled it differently? Would you have let her accusation slide to avoid exposing her secret? Or would you have done the exact same thing? It's been 2 years now. My daughter is 2 years old. She's thriving. She knows who her cousins are, but she doesn't understand family drama. She just knows she has a father, a mother, a grandmother, and extended family. Jeremy and Jennifer have a custody arrangement now. Emma spends time with Jeremy. It's still awkward, Jeremy. Basically had a 7-year-old daughter. Dropped into his life, but he's doing his best. He's a good father. My hope is that eventually, this is just normal for Emma. He's her dad. That's her story. David has recovered some of his money through the fraud lawsuit, but not all of it. He's moved on. He's dating someone new, but I'm sure that experience left scars. Jennifer. I don't know Jennifer that well anymore. We see each other at family events sometimes. We're cordial, but we're not close. There's a distance that will probably never be bridged. My mother tried to facilitate a conversation between me and Jennifer. Jennifer wanted to apologize, but the apology felt incomplete. She said she was sorry for making me feel bad, but she didn't take full responsibility for the lying or the calculated nature of the accusation. I told my mother that I'd forgiven her in the sense that I don't carry anger about it anymore, but I don't trust her, and I probably never will again. That's the real consequence of this story. It's not just the legal stuff or the family drama. It's the fact that a relationship between sisters, a relationship that's supposed to be foundational, is damaged in a way that might be permanent. Marcus's relationship with Jeremy is complicated now too. On one hand, Jeremy is his brother. On the other hand, Jeremy had a daughter and never told anyone. And that's a pretty significant thing to hide. They're working through it, slowly, but it's changed their dynamic. My mother has set firm boundaries with Jennifer about what she will and won't tolerate in conversations. My father barely speaks to Jennifer anymore. He felt like she disrespected me and our family. And he hasn't really forgiven her for that. The baby shower is remembered by everyone who was there. For some people, it's remembered as the moment Jennifer self-destructed. For others, it's remembered as the moment I publicly humiliated my sister. Even if it was in self-defense, I've thought a lot about whether I would have done anything differently. And honestly, I don't think I would have. In that moment, I did what I felt I needed to do to protect myself and my family. But I also understand that it had ripple effects that are still affecting people. 2 years later, that's something I live with. The thing I've learned from this is that family can be complicated. People we love can betray us. And sometimes, standing up for yourself means hurting someone else. And sometimes that's necessary. But it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. What I think people don't understand about situations like this is that there are no clean endings. Jennifer was wrong to question my baby's paternity without evidence. That was cruel and calculated. But I was also wrong to expose her secret in public rather than address it privately. I did it to protect myself, but I also did it to hurt her. Both things are true. The people who suffer most in these situations are the ones without agency. Emma didn't choose her mother's lie. David didn't choose to pay child support for a daughter that wasn't his. Jeremy didn't choose to have a daughter appear in his life 7 years after the fact. They were all collateral damage in a conflict between me and Jennifer. People ask if I regret it. And I don't regret protecting myself. But I do regret that it had to happen in front of everyone. I regret that it created so much chaos for people who didn't deserve it. I regret that my daughter's first memory of family might be tainted by the drama, even though she's too young to remember any of it. But mostly, I regret that. Jennifer and I couldn't find a way to work through her jealousy and her cruelty without things escalating to this point. Because what happened at that baby shower, it was a breaking point. And there's no going back from breaking points. If I could give advice to anyone in a similar situation, it would be, don't wait for the moment of public confrontation. Address the problem before it becomes a public issue. If someone you love is showing signs of destructive behavior, talk to them about it. Give them a chance to change. Because once things blow up publicly, once secrets are exposed, once relationships are damaged in front of an audience, there's no going back. The privacy is gone. The trust is gone. And what's left is just complicated feelings and unhealed wounds. And that's a much harder place to rebuild from than if you'd addressed it earlier. So that's the story. And I have to be honest, this one is complicated in a way that most stories aren't. Jennifer was wrong. She tried to publicly humiliate the poster and cast doubt on her baby's paternity without evidence. That was cruel and deserved consequences. But the poster was also calculating. She came prepared with DNA tests. She came ready to expose her sister's secret. And she did it in front of 50 people. Both things can be true. Both people can be wrong and right at the same time. And I think that's what makes this story resonate. Because real life is complicated like that. There aren't always clean heroes and villains. Sometimes there are just hurt people hurting people. I want to ask you, what would you have done in that moment? Would you have come prepared with the DNA tests? Would you have exposed your sister's secret in self-defense? Or would you have handled it differently? And here's the harder question. Do you think both of them deserved what happened? Or do you think one of them went too far? Drop a comment and tell me. I want to hear what you think about this one. Thanks for watching. If this story made you think about family dynamics or your own complicated relationships, please hit like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.